can't get in over here. Is that, did it say
You're
that?
gonna have to come in here
Well,
one day.
I'm
I need to give
good.
you lessons, cause I can't do this every council.
Will you start that
Come over here
signing
and
like that? I'll
you
speak
don't
into
log
it.
in as
I turned it off.
That's what came up.
Yes.
Why did that come up?
Tablet needs to be reset.
Pardon?
I'm doing it right, from what you told me. Anyway,
Yeah, you log in as user.
I had a pen in my hand. Oh, it's right.
Maybe that'll reset it right there.
Yes, let me go ahead and sign. I'll sign. Oh, while I'm here. Okay, yep. Yeah, go ahead. I just need it back when it's time. I don't need two of these.
You got no keyboard.
I just took it off the third.
Okay, that's the modification one. This is the current one. Oops, nope. Dana, did you print off that new citizen participation plan? Here it is. I got it right here, excuse me. I've got it. But I just want to make sure.
Get started. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, working days, okay.
Should log in.
We'll now call to order the January 21st Durant City Council special meeting. If everyone would please stand, Marty Cook will give the invocation, followed by Danny Sherrill leading our flag salute.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us here today to do the work of the city, Lord, and help us to make wise choices that we can benefit the citizens of our great city. We give you all the praise in Jesus' name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. The clerk would please call the roll.
Councilmember Shear,
here.
Councilmember Tomlinson, Councilmember Morris,
Here.
Vice Mayor Brittingham,
Here.
Mayor Groby.
Here, everyone seems to be here today. Our first order of business, number one, consideration to approve modification of the 2021 Citizen Participation Plan to clarify items within the plan. Ms. Becca.
Hi. Good afternoon, Mayor and council members. Okay, the council approved the citizen participation plan, which we do annually in January. However, there were some items that I needed to make sure that were included in that. So do you have the modification with the highlights in your agenda? Okay. So I would ask that we approve this, the council approve this modification to include those additional items. And I was gonna ask Tom if the signature or the line before the signature is actually what it needs to say, but I'm assuming he's already looked at these, so good to go. Are there any questions on that?
Any discussion? Any questions for Ms. Becca? Or do we have a motion?
Motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Would the clerk please record the vote?
Councilmember Shear,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomlinson.
Aye.
Councilmember Morris,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Brittingham.
Aye.
Mayor Groby.
Aye, motion carries. Item number 2, consider adoption of the 2021 CDBG-CV Citizen Participation Plan for the fiscal year 2020, CDBG-Coronavirus Response Application and Project, CDBG-CV.
Normally, the citizen participation plan that you approve in January covers all of our applications throughout the year. But because this is such a unique type project, I thought it was best that we go ahead and have one of these for our application that's specific to this project. Any questions?
Any questions? If not, do we have a motion?
I move we adopt the 2021 CDBG-CV Citizen Participation Plan.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Could you make that motion, please, specific for the CDBG-CV project or program?
I believe I did.
You did? I'm sorry.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Would the clerk please record the vote?
Councilmember Shear,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomlinson.
Aye.
Councilmember Morris,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Brittingham.
Aye.
Mayor Groby.
Aye, motion carries. Item number 3 is public hearing. We will now move into the public hearing part of our agenda. 2020 Community Development Block Grant CDBG Coronavirus Response CDBG-CV application requesting funding to assist low to moderate income city residential utility customers who have been impacted by COVID-19 and meet the program criteria.
Okay, thank you. And just make sure that everyone signed the sign-in sheet. Chief, how's your heat? Okay, thank you. And I'm just going to basically read this so that I cover all my bases. The Oklahoma Department of Commerce Community Development Block Grant Coronavirus Grant Application will be discussed today. On January 21st, 2020, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, confirmed the first case of the United States of a coronavirus known by several names, including the novel coronavirus and SARS-CoV-2, which causes the disease commonly referred to as COVID-19. On March 27th, 2020, President Trump signed the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, Public Law 116-136, the CARES Act. The CARES Act makes available $5 billion in CDBG-CV coronavirus response funds to prevent, prepare for, and respond to the coronavirus. CDBG-CV grants are a flexible source of assistance for addressing the health and economic challenges brought on by the coronavirus pandemic. These funds are intended to pay costs not covered by other forms of assistance and specifically benefiting persons of low to moderate income. The national objective of the Community Development Block Grant CARES Act CDBG-CV program is to meet the low and moderate income, or LMI, as it's referred to, national objective. At least 70% of the CDBG-CV funds must assist in activities that are for low to moderate income. The remaining 30% may be used for activities that meet the urgent need national objective. The purpose of the CDBG-CV program is to prevent, prepare for, and respond to coronavirus. And our proposed activity is to provide utility assistance to individuals, I should say city utility assistance, to individuals that are delinquent on their bills due to effects of COVID-19, and the individuals must meet the following criteria to qualify. They must be delinquent on their water bill or city utility bill due to coronavirus-related issues such as they're off work, unemployed, quarantined, sick, family affected, etc. Within the HUD income guidelines are spelled out into the guidelines of the grant, and each person that applies would have to meet the HUD income guidelines as well. We are proposing, based upon information that we received from Stephanie in the utility office, to assist customers over the next 2 years that are willing to fill out an application and meet all the criteria for assistance. And based upon discussion with John today, if we can assist up to 6 months per customer if they meet all the eligibility requirements. And that does not have to be 6 months of consecutive assistance. So if they need assistance 1 month, they meet all the requirements, and later down the road, something else happens related to COVID, then we can assist them again as long as that total amount is 6 months or up to 6 months. Based on the average of utility bills that are now delinquent or that be considered delinquent, we propose in our budget to assist a customer up to $600 cap over that 6 months eligibility period for each customer. And we're proposing that we may be able to assist 1,000 customers over those 2-year period. So our proposed budget request would be $600,000. And then we are allowed to ask 6% over that for administrative or implementation activity. Dana, is that the right word? Yes. And so it will take an intake process to process everyone that is applying, and so we would use that 6% cost to assist with that, and hopefully be able to partner maybe with Oklahoma Workforce for a part-time person and to help the utility office process this information. Is there any question or questions?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
How does a citizen determine if they're eligible for this?
Well, the very first thing that has to be done is they have to have an in-hand delinquent utility bill. And then they would ask, or we would determine how we're going to make that information available at the utility office, but by posting, if you're delinquent, please see us about application. There is an application that's been created that they have to fill out, and they have to provide their reasoning, how they've been affected by COVID. And Department of Commerce says that we have to do our due diligence to ask the customer to provide as much information as they have available. So if they've been unemployed, they've lost their job, then something, either a bank statement that shows that that direct deposit is no longer there, or their employer can provide a statement. If they've been affected medically by the COVID-19, then to provide either a statement from their doctor, or they were in the hospital, so maybe a release from the hospital. So they have to provide some proof of that. And then if they meet all that criteria on the application, then they would be eligible for the assistance. And then every time that they're delinquent within that 6-month eligibility period, then they can receive assistance up to 6 months.
Thank you.
And we would not pay the fees with CDBG funds. If there are any late fees or the other fee, I don't know what the other name of that $50 fee is. Huh?
Non-payment fee.
Non-payment fee, yes.
So the utility customer, if qualified, but we've had a shut off, the funding would only be to pay the utility bill and not the return to service?
That's correct. The bill, it would only pay what they are delinquent on. So,
Okay. Do we say that there'd be a lot of cutoffs to be paid?
well,
Did-
there's about a 45-day period from the time you
Okay.
become delinquent until your water is actually
Okay.
cut off. So
So,
if they're delinquent, they should
Yeah.
make application.
Okay. And,
We
and,
still have the moratorium on the cutoffs due to COVID.
We
Did you
did,
waive,
we
did you
did,
stop?
and we removed that in July.
Becca, would this be in conjunction with other help, like the Choctaws I know help a lot? Would they be able to get help from the city and the Choctaws, or? would-
Thank you for
Tribal
bringing that up, because actually that was going to be my next statement.
sorry.
Information. No, I'm glad you did. We, as a city, have to certify that we are not going to duplicate benefits. And so the applicant does have to sign in the application that they have applied for assistance, or there's no other assistance, and they have to certify that. And then Dana has, I was going to introduce her, if we can, and I will in a minute, but she's been contacting agencies such as Choctaw and Big Five and Hands of Hope and some of the churches to see what has been done in the past. We were hoping we could maybe identify if they had a budget for City of Durant utility customers for the upcoming year, but we were unable to get that information. In the utility office, there are 2 notebooks about this thick with all of the guarantees that the city utility office has received. Dana went through each one of those and kind of got a total, an estimated total of what was received in 2020. It was about $44,000. And so as we work through each applicant and they've certified, we hope that the intake person would be able to contact an agency that this family says that they've applied for and confirm that there is assistance coming or they're not approved for that. So we do have to make sure that we are not duplicating benefits.
the nation would only provide that to tribal members. I mean,
Correct,
if
yes,
they-
sir.
If
Mhm.
they,
Yes.
if that's a part of their program.
Yes, and we fully understand that,
Yeah.
correct.
Becca, let's see, so 6 months of assistance if approved, and over a 2-year period. At the end of 2 years, if we've not expended all those funds, what happens? If all of the assistance, what, we're asking for 600,000?
Mm-hmm.
What if that's not been expended?
If that's not enough or
No,
utilized,
let's say it's plenty and we have a balance.
well, at the end of the 2 years, of course, that's, how, it depends on how the pandemic is under control or moving forward. And we could ask, based upon that time, if we felt that we needed to continue assisting customers, we could ask for an extension on that, or we could just let the funds go back to Commerce, or, because we will request them as needed,
Oh, okay.
okay?
It's reimbursement, correct, Becca?
Yes, right.
Are there any other questions? Are there any other questions?
Excuse me, Dana, did I cover everything?
Okay.
I
Are there
do
any
think
other
so.
questions? Okay, we will now close the public hearing section, and there will be no action taken on this. Item number 4, consider approval of Resolution R 2021-04 for the CDBG-CV public hearing for the fiscal year 2020 CDBG-coronavirus response application and project, CDBG-CV.
Okay, and this application is specific to confirming that we did hold the public hearing today.
Any discussion, or do we have a
Move
motion?
approval of Resolution R-2021-04 for the CDBG-CV public hearing for the fiscal year 2020 CDBG
Could-
coronas.
I'm sorry, I just see something that really needs to be included, Jerry, before you make that. In the now therefore be it resolved, the last sentence, for eligible city utility customers, I would like to state residential. utility customers. Could you make that notation in your motion?
Where is that?
It's the last sentence of the now therefore be it resolved section.
And what do you want to say?
Residential. Eligible resident or city residential utility customers.
Okay, I've made my motion on the resolution, and to amend the resolution in the now therefore be it resolved paragraph, to read, to grant assistance for eligible city resident utility customers.
Yes.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Would the clerk please record the vote?
Councilmember Shear,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomlinson, Councilmember Morris,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Brittingham.
Aye.
Mayor Groby.
Aye. Motion carries. Item number 5, consideration to approve need statement for the fiscal year 2020 Community Development Block Grant, CDBG Coronavirus Response, CDBG-CV, application requesting funding to assist low to moderate income city residential utility customers who have been impacted by COVID-19 and meet the program criteria.
Okay. And I didn't really do a great job on that statement of needs that's in your agenda, but I revised it, and so I gave each of you a copy, which this statement of needs talks about the coronavirus, the history, and then the national objective and the purpose, and that now the city of Durant desires to utilize this funding for the eligible customers for up to 6 months who have delinquent city utility bills in 2021 due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Any discussion? Any questions? Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve the needs statement for the FY 2020 Community Development Block Grant CDBG Coronavirus Response CDBG-CV application requesting funding for LMI city residential utility customers who've been impacted by COVID-19 and meet program criteria.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Would the clerk please record the vote?
Councilmember Shear,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomlinson,
Aye.
Councilmember Morris,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Brittingham.
Aye.
Mayor Groby.
Aye. Motion carries. Item number 6, 2020 Community Development Block Grant Coronavirus Response CDBG-CV application requesting funding for assistance for eligible city utility customers impacted by COVID-19.
Okay, and this resolution, Tom, the first 2 paragraphs or the first 2 whereas, I just used another resolution and it still had small cities reference in there. And there is and the law number in that is related to specific small cities programs. So there is a law for the CARES Act, and I implemented that in the first paragraph, but I would like to request that the council's motion be approved contingent upon Tom making sure that this is worded correctly. Just the main part of the law specifically.
Okay, I guess we're on item number A down there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we are. Did you not read that? I apologize.
I haven't
My brain went on.
You
Sorry.
jumping ahead of me today.
I
but
did. I'm sorry.
Consideration to approve application resolution R 2021-05 for the 2020 Community Development Block Grant, CDBG-CV application, requesting funding for eligible residential customer assistance.
Okay, can we play that tape over again? So if you could make the motion contingent upon legal counsel review of that, please.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve application resolution R 2021-05 for the 2020 Community Block Development Grant CDBG-CV application requesting funding for eligible residential customers contingent upon city attorney approving the wording of the resolution.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Would the clerk please record the vote?
Councilmember Shear,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomlinson, Councilmember Morris,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Brittingham,
Aye.
Mayor Groby.
Aye, motion carries. 6B, consideration to authorize mayor to sign relevant CDBG application documents for the 2020
I have it.
Community Development Block Grant CDBG-CV application requesting funding for eligible residential customer assistance.
Is
there
that,
any-
is that B for your authorization? Yes, if the council would please make a motion or authorize the mayor to sign any relevant documents for the application. Yes.
Call for a motion.
Motion to approve or authorize the mayor to sign any relevant CDBG application documents for 2020 Community Development Block Grant CDBG-CV.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
A motion. We have a second. Would the clerk please record the vote?
Councilmember Shear,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomlinson, Councilmember Morris,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Brittingham,
Aye.
Mayor Groby.
Aye, motion carries. Item 7, 2020 Community Development Block Grant, Coronavirus Response, CDBG-CV application documents for policies and procedures related to fiscal year 2020 CDBG-CV assistance for eligible city utility customers impacted by COVID-19. And number A under this would be consideration to approve fiscal year 2020 CDBG-CV duplication of benefits, policies, and procedures.
And Tom, have you had a chance to look at that? Okay, all right. So this is a document that we have to provide in our application that we will ensure that the duplication of benefits and policies and procedures is followed.
Okay, is there any discussion, or do we have a motion?
Motion to approve FY 2020 CDBG-CV duplication of benefits, policy, and procedures.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Would the clerk please record the vote?
Councilmember Shear,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomlinson,
Aye.
Councilmember Morris,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Brittingham,
Aye.
Mayor Groby.
Aye, motion carries. 7B, consideration to approve fiscal year 2020 CDBG-CV appeals policy and procedure.
Okay, so if the applicant goes through our procedures and the staff determines that based upon that criteria, they are not eligible and they feel that they want to appeal that, this policy would be in place.
Any questions for Ms. Becker? If not, do we have a motion?
Make the motion we approve FY 2020 CDBG-CV appeals policy and procedures.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Would the clerk please record the vote?
Councilmember Shear,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomlinson,
Aye.
Councilmember Morris,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Brittingham,
Aye.
Mayor Groby.
Aye, motion carries. 7C, consideration to approve fiscal year 2020 CDBG-CV recapture policy and procedures.
Okay, so if for some reason a duplication of benefits happens, we're hoping that we don't let anything fall through the cracks, then this would be a recapture policy to have those funds returned to the city for any duplication.
Okay. Any questions, or are we ready for the motion?
Motion to approve FY 2020 CDBG-CV recapture policy and procedures.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Would the clerk please record the vote?
Councilmember Shear,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomlinson,
Aye.
Councilmember Morris,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Brittingham,
Aye.
Mayor Groby.
Aye, motion carries. Item number 8, Consideration to approve wall engineering work order DU-20-04 in the amount of $71,210 related to the awarded 17980 CDBG 20 for the upgrade of electrical and control systems, supervisory control and data acquisition, SCADA, supporting the city-owned water treatment plant system.
Okay, this is related to the grant, our regular small cities grant that has been awarded, and it's Brandon Wall's engineering work order. That is covered by our match commitment.
Any questions, any discussion? Any ready for a motion?
I move we approve the wall engineering work order number DU-20-04 in the amount of $71,210 related to the awarded 17980 CDBG 20 for the upgrade of the SCADA system supporting the city-owned water treatment plant system.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Would the clerk please record the vote?
Councilmember Shear,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomlinson,
Aye.
Councilmember Morris,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Brittingham,
Aye.
Mayor Groby.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you
Number
very
9.
much. Could I introduce the new staff person?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, I meant to do that at first. This is Dana Trent, and she is a phenomenal asset for the city. She talks this language. She has, about 17 years of prior grant experience. So she came on in December, and so I'm just very thankful and that she's here. And I couldn't have done all of this without her.
We're glad to have you, Dana. Welcome aboard.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome, Becca. Number 9, consider approval of ordinance establishing attendance requirement for board members, amending the code of ordinance of the city of Durant, Oklahoma, and declaring an emergency, O-2021-03. Tom, would you like to speak on this?
Sure, Mayor. This came about based on, as everyone remembers, the agenda item from the most recent regular meeting. And this was drafted in an effort to basically set an attendance policy for boards and commissions of the city. And it's got a couple different criteria here. For those that meet monthly, essentially they have the same attendance policy or similar attendance policy to the city council. For those that meet quarterly, then, if they miss half of the meetings in a 12-month period, they're disqualified. And then basically the same thing for any commissions or boards that might meet on an irregular basis or at the call of the chair. They also have a half of the meetings or more within a 12-month period. So what this essentially does is takes the council, or really even staff, out of the equation. And when a member of any of these boards misses the number of meetings prescribed here, they cease to be a member of that board or commission as a matter of law. There's no step necessary to remove them by any entity. They are disqualified and essentially cease to become a member of that board upon missing that number of meetings. Then it would then be incumbent upon the city clerk to notify the mayor, first notify the board member that they're no longer a member of the board, and notify the mayor that there's an opening that needs to be replaced. So it takes the council, takes staff out of the decision-making process of whether this person needs to be removed, when they need to be removed. They are disqualified and cease to become a member upon missing the required number of meetings.
Thank you, Tom. Any questions? Any discussion? Do we have a motion?
But may I ask a question before if indeed we approve this, I'm sure we'll notify all members and of boards and chairmans and
Yes,
so on
sir,
and
we
so
will.
forth, that,
This is in place.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve ordinance establishing attendance requirements for board members, amending the code of ordinance of the city of Durant, Oklahoma, section 1.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Would the clerk please record the vote?
Councilmember Shear,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomlinson,
aye?
Councilmember Morris,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Brittingham,
Aye.
Mayor Groby.
Aye, motion carries. Next item, adjournment. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
You need to,
Emergency.
It's emergency.
Oh, sorry. Do we have a motion for emergency clause?
Make a motion to approve the emergency clause for,
We, we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Would the clerk please record the vote?
Councilmember Shear,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomlinson, Councilmember Morris,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Brittingham,
aye.
Mayor Groby.
Aye, motion carries. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Would the clerk please record the vote?
Councilmember Shear,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomlinson,
Aye.
Councilmember Morris,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Brittingham,
Aye.
Mayor Groby.
Aye, we're now adjourned. Thank you.